Mike from around the world. Are you there, Mike?
Pastor Paul, God bless you this evening.
God bless you. So glad to have you tonight. We've just kind of been focusing on, there's a lot of things going on, but, you know, like Prigozhin went back to Russia. What's that mean? Alex Soros has visited the White House 20 times since Biden went in, but Bibi is not invited. Cocaine is in the White House. Not sure how that got there. You said we'd see rare deep-sea creatures. We did. It was called a gulper eel, which is a weird-looking thing. We might have a Trump Robert F. Kennedy Jr. ticket. That's rumors. They both like each other. Who knows? We had an X-class on the sun, solar flare. X-class, very powerful. Knocked out ham radios and communications in the West Coast. But the one thing we're still talking about since last Thursday is, and I played it for folks, when you said Planet X, you know, it's possible this thing could be within 2 weeks from being visualizing. Can we talk tonight about what will that be like? What will we see and what will it mean?
Well, yeah, it's not within anybody's control. That's number one. So it could, I mean, literally at any time, any moment, really, any moment. So that's like saying there is, take time out of the picture.
Okay.
Take it out, throw it away.
Throw it away.
Because we could be talking tonight and somebody could spot that thing, spot something up there that everybody's going to see. It's going to be a persistent object. And of course, it comes with its own persistent objects. And so we are right there at the moment, actually, because it's outside of everybody's control. When we do see it, we're already seeing subtle changes from external forces. You know, speaking of those external forces, Pastor Paul, the South Pole Station is, they have to ramp up again. They have to get things going again for their neutrino detector, the brand new one.
Down in the
not
South.
Brand new one, but
South Pole.
The Arctic station is a very complicated machine. It's a very complicated machine. The twin system to that is part of you could say it's part of a defense system, but it's also a detector, a really good detector. But and it detects more than supernovae, much more than that. But they have to get those things going because we have too many things in proximity to our solar system to worry about. And
so what will this
going
thing
to change everything?
So this equipment down in the South Pole, is it something to help neutralize what we got to deal with when it comes to Planet X?
No, we can't neutralize it. They can't neutralize it. No. There's a strange story about the Earth. It has, of course, a lot of people believe that this is the first time it's been inhabited, and so they may not be aware of the Earth has a pretty thorough history, very mysterious history, but we're dealing with more than just us. With this, with the arrival of this system, we're dealing with a lot more than us, and things will escalate as far as people being exposed to what the true history of Earth is. It's a shaker. It will really, the governments know it. They know it's going to shake everything up, which is why they have a 2024 plan, which is why they're also prepping everything to be ready by 2024, to late 2023, 24, because they have a great understanding that we're out of time, right? We're just out of time. And so some of the most, if not all of those ancient things will come back. The narrative may be a bit different than what people know. But for example, people know about national parks, right? Maybe there's a park ranger out there. They cannot tell their story. They already know that. But they are the best individuals to talk to when it comes to the Nephilim. They are the best individuals to talk to. They really are.
Really?
And, yeah, they have pictures, videos. They have all sorts of things. And, governments are aware that they take pictures through their cell phones and they record things and have encounters because those neutrino detectors, by the way, can detect neutrinos, and it just so happens when you have what people call that strange phenomena, right? The neutrino count goes up. So in the Arctic regions of the Earth, where no weapons can be, by the way, they have a vast array of detectors that they can, detect this with. In fact, it's quite vast. You're dealing with these tiny little digital optical modules that have some pretty enormous capabilities, and it's 5,100 of those things buried under the ice. About, I believe it goes down about almost 3,000 meters underneath the ice, right?
Now,
And they,
5,100 modules, are these little
yeah,
vehicles?
no, they're balls.
Okay, okay,
They
okay,
are digital optical DOMs is what they call them,
okay.
and they're very sensitive. They can emit, they can transmit, they can also receive, right? For example, there have been some people got it, some people didn't. When they use, we have a large laser array there too, large one, um, and it's used for communications. So because they have faster than light communications, I know it's going to make certain people mad because they only know public science, but they use lasers for communication. Large pulses of data go out, but they also vaporize the atmosphere when they do that. So they have to be careful when they use that thing. But they can disable, things uh, out there by those means. That story is going to be made available, by the way, by the end of the year. They're really pressing to get several individuals out there that actually work in that field. That's part of a minimal disclosure
Is this sort of
for the
now?
public.
Are we operating now in a physics? I mean, are we talking CERN? Are we talking?
Well, this is more than CERN. CERN is one thing, right? We're talking about an operational device, a big operational device which runs from a pretty unique power system, and
Okay,
but it's there. Like for example, in 2010 when they had that earthquake at I believe it was Christchurch and a few more,
yeah, New
they kind of
Zealand.
lined up.
Yep.
That was from a machine. That was not natural. That
Yeah.
was from a machine.
Well,
That's an unnatural consequence, Pascal, from
I
each module has an ability to emit 2,100 volts or 2,100 volts of voltage. But you're talking about an obscene amount of amps coming from each module, and it's over 5,000.
well,
So it has.
okay. When this happened, I covered what I called the 188-day earthquake cycle. There were 7 earthquakes that were pretty big. It happened exactly on the 188th day each time. The first one was in Concepcion, Chile. It was about an 8.1 or something. Then the next one was in Christchurch, New Zealand, and it was like a 7.4. And then the third one was the one that hit Fukushima, Japan, which was a 9.1, and we know what that did. And each one of those was on the 188th day. So then I said, whoa, and I kept studying it, and 7 straight times on the 188th day, there was a major earthquake. That's either God is in some kind of algorithm, or this was man-made, machine-made. Is that possible?
Well, yeah, it is because that's a LF low frequency system, right? Everybody thinks it's Harp. Harp is more of a high altitude,
Right.
microwave
Transmission.
system,
Right.
basically, right? And despite all the internet claims, internet's very dangerous when it comes to that stuff because some of that stuff is just not real. It doesn't work the way sometimes, man, they make devices that do not work. And CERN, or not CERN, but Harp is a good example of that. There are other machines that are at work, and while everybody's looking at Harp, they're missing everything else anyway. So we have that detection center, which must be online prior to the end of the year. going into 2024. It must be online.
Is it what is
perfectly.
it? Why does it must be online? Is it somehow to protect the Earth, or is there some role it plays?
Well, they need the communications. Number one,
Okay.
you're talking about a laser, right? A laser that's the width of a house going up into space.
What? That is gigantic.
Yeah, that's big. It's green. It's big, and that's faster than light communications. The real question is, who are they communicating with? That's the real question. But at any rate, they have to have these things online 2024. Also, there's a persistent warning going out about two things. Number one, this is only coming from the government. They keep subtly telling everybody a storm is coming. And then places like New York, places like Arizona, Texas, and places like that, their power companies are on permanent standby. So what that means is we're going into a hyper season for the sun, right? Which they do expect a lot of damage. Listen to me, they do expect a lot of damage to the point where they have FEMA in certain executive orders kind of outline emergency powers taking over everything for the sake of coordination, right? When I say everything, I mean everything. These EOs, seizure and control of media, right? Electric, power, gas, petroleum, fuels, minerals, seize all transportation, mobilize civilians into work brigades, all these different things, these EOs. Well, they have been looked at recently, right? And they also, certain permanent bills have been made up for this. Now they have the power companies permanently on standby. That makes no sense to have them permanently on standby. Why would the electric and gas be permanently on standby? Those are the two basic sources of power that if they fail, we are in the dark, right? There's no internet without power. So that warning also went out from the federal government that we could face a major disruption in communications this year.
Okay, so because they're anticipating the sun from doing
Yes, they are.
and we're going into a solar maximum. But I think you're saying that the sun is reacting to this binary system.
Yeah, we're talking about forces much higher than any solar cycle would ever produce. These, well, the term they use are biblical activities of the sun. We could actually see biblical activities of the sun, and of course, in the Bible it says that the sun, when the angel poured his vial into the sun, scorched the earth, and men blasphemed God because they were scorched with it. So biblical activities from the sun it's not going to happen all by itself. The sun is intimately tied to defense of the heliosphere, you could say. So anything outside the heliosphere is going to activate or cause the sun to react in a specific way. The sun distributes some of its power all over through all these planets. And it's a very perfect system God designed, but it's extremely reactive, right? Extremely. We had a flare a little bit ago, right?
Right.
We were sheared by gamma ray burst. You didn't hear that on the internet.
No, we did not. No.
So which means we're not going to be destroyed by gamma ray burst. Isn't that funny? It actually happened. They didn't, when you don't expose things to social media, people can't get a hold of it. They can't evaluate. They don't know. They did not know, right? Now, they may have felt some heat on their bodies. The planet certainly did heat up. Right.
Yeah.
But other than that,
I mean, you know that right now the oceans are the hottest they've ever been, and Monday was the hottest day in the history of the Earth. Never before. The overall temperature was 62.64. It was the hottest ever recorded. So are we already getting the effects of this, the sun and the effects it's getting from this binary system?
Actually, we're feeling minimal effects right now.
Okay.
Right now, but at any time it could hit the reactive zone. A reactive zone is when all the planets and the sun begin to react to this perturber. Right. At that point, the sun could double its capacity of output, or
that'd fry us.
It could do a few things. Right. if the sun's temperature were to say it were to double, right? Um, Believe me, they have certain places that are ready for this. Now, why in the world would reinforced concrete be used on certain highways with springs in the bottom as of 2022? Why would they do that? A highway that can withstand temperatures of about, I think it's 2,000 degrees, right? Because normally you use rebar and all that other stuff, not in this highway, right? So you have these exotic composite materials being placed in these highways that cost millions of dollars, and nobody can tell the difference. It does not ride smoother, but it can withstand a lot of temperature. Why is most of the foods that people are eating? Uh, Something is wrong with the foods that people are eating. Something is wrong with Purina, right? Something is wrong with that stuff, and you have all these recalls, right?
Right.
You have all these change in vendors because people are starting to get wise. For example, the chicken problem.
Right.
Maybe you know about that, but a lot of chickens, we're talking a lot of chickens, were eating feed from Purina. They would not lay eggs for about 5 to 6 months.
From
As soon as they
Purina.
took the chickens off the Purina and gave it something else from the Amish, next day they started laying eggs. But they shut the Amish suppliers down. Do you know that? They
I,
shut them down 5 days after. The USDA comes and investigates all the farms that are have chickens that were producing these eggs, and weird things are happening. And Bill Gates, he owns. You wouldn't believe how much he owns. The farms in the USA. This guy's over 50% right now.
wow.
He's well over 50%.
Wow.
What in the world is he doing with it? Well, as of a few months ago, they don't have to tell you that they have GMO wheat, right?
Yeah, they
The
do.
bread, I like what is that bread? I think it's it's the bread in the yellow package, pretty long loaf. I used to like that bread. I will not eat it. The sun stuff or whatever it is.
Oh.
It tastes wrong. It's wrong.
So the wheat's been contaminated with this.
It's wrong, Pastor Paul. It's wrong.
And let me ask you a question. Sugar passed away. Our dog passed away. And she got, she was 14 and a half years old, but she got sick. She got cancer, and it killed her in 10 weeks. Then our cat, Lily, got sick and withered away and died also, even in a shorter period of time, same month. I said that on the air, and people, of course, they love Sugar. She'd been with me since I was on the air, and so it's just sad. But we started getting letters, Mike, and emails.
Their pets are going to.
They're all dying of the same thing.
Yeah.
They get cancer and they die in 6 weeks. What's going? Is that food or is that air or what is it?
No, Pastor Paul, we have a lot of the sun is natural, of course, right? Nobody should ever fear the sun, believe it or not. And it's so difficult to explain certain things. Yes, the sun can cause cancer. It causes cancer because of what we ingest. Let's put it that way.
So
animals are susceptible to what we consume, to what we wear, to what we wash our clothes with, right? They are more and more, they're using all these synthetic materials. Dogs do one thing and they do it all the time, which is sniff, right? So that's their major point of entry into the body. They also taste everything. Dogs will taste everything. Cats smell a lot of things. So they're a bit, no doubt the ratio between dogs and cats as far as being deceased, cats die slower than dogs do because dogs lick everything. Cats do not. We use moisturizers and all these other things, right? You wouldn't believe what's in that stuff as of 2020, the end of 2022. Everything in the manufacturing field has been altered. It's changed. Everything is. My only advice for that, because at this point, it really doesn't matter what you do. Just pray over your animals, but I'll tell you something, basketball. Sometimes when people lose pets, it's not a bad thing because the Lord knows what we're about to face. And some acts of mercy we don't comprehend in the beginning. But I can tell you this: to this day, I will not have a pet because of my army dog. Right? I won't have a pet. No more pets for me. Because you get really attached. But
Right.
I also know the environment of the world and what we're headed into, and I just can't. I can't go that route. That would slow me down. Let's put it that way. It's one of those unfortunate
So
things. It's a
we're
combination of things, you know.
yeah. So this whole thing, this binary system, is shaking up. It's shaking up the heavens. It's causing a massive reaction by the sun. Man is trying to adjust how that's going to survive it by changing the food, the GMO makeup of the food. We've got weapons down in Antarctica that laser beams off the charts for whatever reason, and we're seeing this. And there's no escaping this, is there, Mike? There's just no
No,
escaping it.
no.
Let me ask you. Uh, we see that we know that this election that's coming up, and we don't. I don't want to go into the political world, but we know that there's things happening in Russia. There's things happening in Israel right now that are very volatile, and we see that Trump has mentioned that he really gets along with Robert Kennedy Jr. and Kennedy says he likes Trump. And even though that we have a Republican and a Democrat, even though they're on two sides of the spectrum, these guys seem to respect each other, and they're both not part of the global elite, the secret societies.
That's a problem.
Do you see? Is it possible that these guys might pull an Abraham Lincoln, Andrew Johnson move and have a Republican and a Democrat together?
Well, at any other time in history, right? I would say that would be a good thing. Here's the problem, though. The problem is the selection of presidents. For example, President Biden. He's old. He's very old. He's fragile.
Right.
And his handlers, his administration, his handlers, the people that are actually doing the work and advising him. People can tell that because he gets up before he talks and he starts reading some of the stage comments and not exactly what he's supposed to read. He's not supposed to do that.
Right.
But he's when you get old like that, you start to slip. In general, you start to slip pretty fast. It's a very fast process, unfortunately. Some people are, they have much more longevity. Some people don't. And in his case, physically, you can see him degrading quickly, right?
Yeah.
You can see him degrading quickly. So I don't think if they would have him there in that position, that's for a reason. We do something called electronic voting. My personal opinion, I have no confidence in anything that goes through a computer. I do not. If you were to write me an email, right, you can't verify it by conversation. I have no confidence in the email until we talk.
Okay.
That's just me.
Okay.
Because anything on a computer can be manipulated.
Sure.
And when you get into that field, right, you start doing that. And these guys, if you really look at them, it's almost like they're not worried about the election. But why are they making plans past the election? Now, I understand that President Biden just can't say, I'm not going to run.
No,
that'd be a big problem. He'd be a lame duck and everybody would jump off the ship. But if he were to, there's another candidate that caught my eye, right? Because he serves the narrative that they have going. And I'll say it again, they're going to force what's going to change in the entire world.
Are we talking Newsom? Are we talking Gavin Newsom?
There we are. He did not hesitate to compliment President Biden. He was the first one to do that like that. That was overkill, right? And he did that with a straight face. And so when you have somebody like that will read the script, he's compliant. He's very compliant.
Right.
And because he's compliant, and because they're forcing this system, they're going to have in the White House who they want in the White House. I do suspect a total and absolute breakdown. I do. I suspect that total and absolute breakdown. There are too many Americans that they're not going to yield this election, right?
We're too
this
divided,
election is going to, it's going to hit the heart and soul of what America is. And they're seeing that, when certain things come to light, they're going to see that slip away. They're not going to go for that. And so that's why we'll have more of a council than anything else. And also this Russia situation is going to play into that the China situation is going to. These two countries are poised, and there's about to be. I hate to say this, there will be a big eruption in the Middle East in a very short time. A huge eruption. Something's going to go wrong in the Middle East, and it will affect the entirety of the world.
Is it because Israel seems to be, look, we already know Israel's not liked by the world. We already know the United Nations has an agenda against them, but it looks like Israel is getting more aggressive in where they're going. Am I correct in that? That they're
also, and Saudi Arabia is going to be, if they're going to just be vaporized.
I mean,
they're not going to be there.
What? I mean, Mike, are you serious? Wait a minute.
They're just not going to be there. Saudi Arabia
is going to be vaporized. I mean, they're
going to be wiped up. They're not going to be there. They're not going to be there.
Okay.
They will be removed. They will be removed.
Is Iran going to do it? Is the United States going to do it?
You have a very fast reordering of the Middle East, right? I mean, it's fast. They've already discounted the U.S. dollar. The dollar's not in the Middle East and some of the major exchanges, and these guys are making money. They have become wise. They said, hey, we have the oil, right? And America's going to have to use their own, but we're setting our own prices without international, oversight. So there's a breakaway community in the Middle East. It's becoming strong and it's powerful and it has a lot of money. The USA, we have everybody's money. That's why we have so much debt.
Right.
But we have everybody's money. The Middle East, they're kind of like Libya was before Gaddafi died. That country was unbelievable. They did not portray Libya for what it was in the news. They were not going to do that because Gaddafi was not the person people think he was. He really was. Anyway, that's a dead story. But the Middle East is
a time bomb.
East. It is, and it's just not with these factions forming up, with Israel now being emboldened to do when like we discussed before, Israel's going to have to do what they have to do, or it's either they do an offensive or bring all their defenses to bear against what will come against them. Somebody's either going to strike them with a deadly blow, or they're going to have to take out what will strike them with a deadly blow. Either way, it's not going to bode well for Israel, because Israel has no allies.
Right.
Zero. No allies.
Right.
And for first time in history, Israel has zero allies. The UK is they've withdrawn favoritism.
Right.
So they've done this. The king there has done this. The USA has done the same thing. We're quite shallow at the UN. And the Middle East is just waiting to get her out of the way. But the problem with that is they now have the technology to back up all their threats. Every single threat they've given, they now have power to back it up, right? In order for them to be totally effective, they have to absorb Saudi Arabia. So it will be removed. They will take what they need to take. And then we're going to see things go to a brand new level with warfare. In the meanwhile, the USA, we're not going to be able to do anything because we're about to see politics go to a brand new level where things will be locked up. They're just going to be locked up. Nobody's going to care about executive orders and things
nobody's
like that.
going to care. Already, Biden was supposed to release some information Sunday, and he was ordered to. I mean, the deadline came. The Congress is already it's done. He's got to hand it over. He just didn't do it. He said, I just don't feel like it. It don't matter. I mean, it's sort of like we don't have a constitution anymore. It seems like that. They just do what they want. There's no rules. They're calling the shots as they go. It's quite interesting.
I think they're.
Let me ask you about Macron, because this thing is out of control, Mike. I mean, we all know it was the boy was shot there and all that, but this is deeper than that, isn't it? I mean, this is the migrants who are really the ones in the streets burning down France, and I don't think that Macron understands or wants to understand what's going on.
Which is why he might want to watch out for Iran, right? We're going to have a repeat. And Macron might want to watch out for Iran. Most of those groups that are over there, by the way, are they're paid quite well by Iran, right? The
Right.
same ones were in Europe, same thing, but they have not coordinated some of their larger strikes yet. The UK, they need to watch out big time too. Anybody who has open nuclear facilities that are not, they need to beef up security quickly. We do too, because these terrorists that are around the globe are silent. They're silent for a reason. They're watching everything. They're inserting themselves. And when they strike, it'll be a major blow. It really will be. And it's so sad because you have certain agencies that are hunting, but they're very difficult to find. Here's the problem. When people need money, but you have countries out there that will pay a citizen of a different country $10 million for information. What kid would not go for that? And then you have TikTok and all this social media stuff where people are making $50,000 a week, right? So you get one of those guys, or somebody wants to aspire to do that, and they start paying these guys that type money. What kid is going to say no if they think, hey, this is free money? These kids are not thinking about how the world works. Their world is inside of social media.
Yes, it is.
And so by consensus, they see right and wrong and what is real and what is not. These kids are going for everything.
So you're saying that we're not just dealing with Edward Snowdens anymore or whistleblowers, but we're dealing with just flat out bribery. We've got
That's right.
People are just being paid by governments to get information and send it to them. Period.
That's right. That's why the CIA and the FBI were involved. That's why Elon Musk found out that the CIA and FBI were paying, that social media company he bought, and some more social media companies are finding out that you have agencies that pay them, right? Because they understand this is a major communication line, right? But kids are sophisticated. They come up with these little code words and everything else, and they're starting to think well outside the box, which is tasking. Most folks, that's right around the corner, right? There are emergency powers set up for 2023. Emergency powers.
By who? Right? By the United Nations? By the
United States of America.
Okay.
Coordinated with Germany and the UK and all these. This is outside the UN, right? The UN is normally humanitarian things and global police, right? Policing. But this is outside of that. And you kind of get that gut feeling that something is too much attention, too much money, too much coordination being thrown in one direction by all sides, right? So they're not letting the populace understand the state of world affairs. World affairs are not what they're portraying on major, mainstream media. And if they don't get their news from an alternative source and then really do their homework to see what they can trust and what they can't, they're going to be misinformed and they're going to be angry when things actually start to happen.
You can't just watch the 6 o'clock news by the local network or cable networks. You're just going. That's all propaganda. Whether it's right or left, it's all propaganda.
That's right.
It
is.
And the real.
It's a bunch of noise.
It's a bunch of noise, and they're just the cocaine in the White House. To me, that is just nothing but noise. That's just a show. It's a distraction.
Well, you have Soros' son, right? He's going to lay off 40 employees. He's been making consistent visits to the White House, and so he's going to take up a lot of attention. But these guys are forcing in everything, all new policies and everything else. In my opinion, they're setting up for the beast to walk forward. The doors are going to open. This guy's coming out, right?
Yep.
As far as government people that truly do matter, they're almost gone. There's nobody left who really matters. And what I'm saying is, everybody take a look. Isn't it like we only have, I want to say, fifth floor people at the White House? They shouldn't be there. That's what it seems. It seems like a bad movie. Like they shouldn't be there.
You're saying the people running the show should be on about the fifth floor, okay? Staffers.
Yeah, they shouldn't be there. What is this? It does not seem real. And
no, it don't.
We had this discussion a long time ago that when the important people that really care about this country are gone, they went underground. That they can't come topside, right?
Yeah, you're right.
They're and believe me, they have vast underground accommodations.
Yeah.
And when they go down there, you're talking about 5-year preparation just to get down there. They're not coming back up here.
They're not coming back.
And they would only go down there if they were within a 10-year period of some huge major event. So we're right there in the window right now.
How many
that
people
means they're going to leave?
How many people
Go ahead.
how many people are these? I mean, I've talked to a truck driver who drove down and delivered in deep in the Appalachian Mountain, Pennsylvania area. 2 miles, 3 miles down there, and he just dropped the trailer. He went in. There was a huge cafe. He sat down. He said there must have been 500 people eating lunch with trays while they were unloading his truck. An hour later, a man come back, said, "You're ready to go." He got in his truck, drove out of there, and the next day, $15,000 in his bank account.
And he was on the outskirts.
Yeah,
so
he's just the guy.
Imagine that.
Yeah. So how many people are in these facilities? These kids, they're like cities, aren't they?
Could you imagine an elevator the size of a 3-bedroom house?
That's massive.
Elevator.
A massive.
Yeah. And that's for people, not for vehicles, right? That's just for people to make their trip down there. So you get on there and you get yourself comfortable for about, 15, 20 minutes straight down, right? And when you come off, I can only tell you about one part, but when you come off, it's like looking at New York City. That's what it's like.
What? So is it modern? I mean,
oh yeah, it's vast. It's just vast. It's mind blowing. And part of the problem is people look at the Earth, right? They look at the Earth. They look at the surface, but they never look at the ratios, like an actual depiction of the surface compared to the sky, compared to the oceans. Because if they did, they would be astounded to say, "What? We're living in that little hair width line." If you draw a circle of the Earth on a regular sheet of paper, right? The pin, the pin mark that goes around in the circle, that one pin mark that covers a radius, we live and fly airplanes on that little pin mark. So look how huge the Earth is. Look how huge it is.
It's not flat.
Right? That's
flat.
huge.
No.
That means, 25,000 feet is still within that pin mark. When we dig underground, it's still within that pin mark. The oceans are still within that pin mark. But then you go down from there, right beneath that, you have these large caverns. Some of these caverns have a 3,000 to about 15,000 foot ceiling, right? And then below that, then you start some of the Earth things. That's why when they dug down, they tried to dig into the center of the Earth. They stopped at a certain point and hit a void. And then they hit this impenetrable place where they couldn't go any further. They did this 12, 13, 14 times. They still do it today. They hit an impenetrable barrier they can't get near. So all this stuff about the Earth's core is theorized. It's not real. They don't know that for fact. All they can do is judge what's on the top side. You can't get down.
There's no way.
You can't do that. So everything is theorized. You go to the bottom of the ocean, you start seeing stalactites and stalagmites upside down. You go in, there are oceans within oceans within oceans. The deeper can you imagine going down into a sub? And they say, okay, we're going to go into the lake. You go into the lake and everything is inverted, right? Then you go even deeper and everything is, it's just all wrong. Then you start seeing structures that shouldn't be down there, like depictions of very large creatures, etchings. And you're not supposed to have etchings down there. You don't go deep down into the ocean, 10 miles. You don't do that and have etchings, right?
No.
So something is wrong.
Etchings. Are you saying? Wait a minute. Are you saying like civilizations drawing?
They're covered over by this stuff that looks like it looks like crystal has formed on it.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
But clearly, somebody made that stuff down there. We're talking structures.
Well, you mentioned Leviathan's kingdom.
All sorts of things.
You mentioned Leviathan's kingdom last week, which Leviathan's in the Bible. He's real. He's got a kingdom of demons. There's sea demons. Am I right?
That's a kingdom. That's a real kingdom.
So we talk about, and this webinar it's coming up, folks. Aliens above and below. What we're talking about here is that when you're dealing with the prince of the power of the air, Lucifer, but you have to realize there was his his minions, his fallen angels were on this planet, and they're still on this planet. They didn't die.
They never left.
They
Yeah,
never
they never
left. No, they can't go back to heaven,
They
and
never
they're
left.
reserved in the ground. They're being held down, but they're going to come out of there. They're not going to stay there forever.
Pastor Paul, see that, but look, that period where you said they're not going to stay down there, evidently something is happening. And this
Okay.
is the unfortunate part.
Okay.
Here's a small piece of experience. These things, all these little orbs people get excited about, not the tic tac, right? Not these floating ball things they see, but the real craft, right? It's going to sound real strange, but people are going to hear it again. When these things come out of the ocean, people on the beach, right? Normally, like Port Oak, California, a long time ago, doing a run on the beach, a bunch of guys were on a beach doing drills where you can't really run, right? You're really tired. You only get 3 feet when you take 20 steps. And this thing comes out of the water, huge. And then out of that comes these flying people, like big, ugly people, right? And they're harmless. The entire time communicating this one message: don't worry. The entire time, don't worry, right? Everything feels different. It feels like you're in a high fear state. It feels like a dream. Your ears are buzzing and everything else. They don't do a thing, right? They observe, go back, you don't see them again. They do this all the time. Normally, when people actually see things like that, it's what they're seeing, right? But on this particular occasion, and I hope I'm pretty sure this story will get out. An old man comes out, about 9.5 feet tall. He's got something in his hand. Everywhere he points, the creature goes. Everywhere he points this little handheld thing, the creature goes. It looks like a big dog or something like that. And engaging, he tries to coax people, right, to come back with him. Inside the hole he comes out of, like a portal or whatever it is, inside that portal are the ugliest, smelliest, nastiest things you ever saw in your life, right? That will start happening all over the place. Totally harmless, they present themselves, right? But who knows what happens on the other side? And but the number of these encounters will no doubt increase. And when people begin to encounter this stuff, I mean really encounter. See, a lot of people, they like the end times, but the reality of the end times is that we're going to have to deal with the spiritual elements.
It's going to be
that
ugly.
have been partitioned. We've been protected this entire time. They cannot do what they want to do. We've been protected. That protection is going away. It's going away.
We know in the Bible it tells us that these fallen angels have been reserved into everlasting chains of outer darkness, reserved until the day of judgment. In other words, there's a day they get turned loose. Now, it says in Revelation 9:11, the book I'm writing, of course, it tells you that Apollyon, God sends the angel down with the key. I think CERN's trying to open it, but CERN's not going to get it open.
They can't. No. Not until because you have the fallen angels, the 200 that fell on Mount Hermon.
Mount Hermon.
They can't escape. They're bound. They can't escape. But there were 1/3 fell with Satan. So the earth is only encountered back then the 200 on Mount Hermon in reserve. But you're still dealing with the rest of them. In the book of Revelation, it says, Satan fell down wound to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for Satan has come. So we're dealing with the rest of the big ones.
Yeah.
Now, they can't do anything because of the protective barrier. And that protective barrier was given to us by Christ. If it were not for believing Christians, this earth would not have a protective barrier, right? So even when it comes down, we still have it. I know that for a fact.
Amen.
Right? We still have it.
Amen.
So, but the sheer knowledge of seeing these things, it's like a nightmare. When you have a nightmare, no matter if you're covered by the blood of the Lamb or not, you may go through your emotional period, and then you recover by saying, wait a minute, I'm covered by the blood, I'm okay, it was just a dream. In this case, it's the exact same thing, right? The way I was actually taught to overcome something by overcoming any nightmare. Realize what you're doing all the time. Leave nothing to chance, right? And if you can go into a dream with your identity, you've done it. That means in any given scenario, you're going to evaluate that scenario without giving yourself over to that compromise of emotions. But most people, if they've taken things for granted, especially their Christianity, they may be a little weak in that area.
What
And
about
this is what comes with the end times.
what about the training that you and others have received, and I'm sure that look, we know about MK Ultra, we know about some of these programs, but remote viewing, and there's all kinds of different things. But have soldiers been trained to deal what's coming from the pit?
Yeah. Yes, they have.
Okay.
Yes, they have.
What kind of
Well,
training is that?
Okay, you go through a training of your body first, right?
Okay.
So, which means they're going to beat the pulp out of you.
Okay.
So you can learn to overcome certain body functions. Keep your body under control.
Right.
And understand that it's just a body. It does not touch you. So one of the first things you learn is that you are not your body, right? You still exist. Your body is separate from you, but you control that body. Well, most people, they don't know that, right? They think they are their body. They look in the mirror, they say,
Yeah.
that's me. I look in the mirror and I say, well, thank you, Lord. Let me go about the day, because this body is under my submission as I submit to the Most High. The other thing are mental tests, right? Awareness is key. Awareness is key, because awareness is identity. For example, if you can open your eyes for 1 second, look at a place you've never seen before and shut them, learn to recall everything you saw, what that's going to actually do is make you become aware of detail, especially about yourself, right? So remembering who you are is key. But before you remember who you are, the one thing they'll ask you is, who are you? And most people can't give an answer. They cannot give an answer. Once you know who you are, and that's the establishment of your own character, right? You have to know what you like and what you dislike. You have to know what your objectives are.
Yes.
And what your objectives are not. You have to know your own character and what your character is not. Most people can't answer that right off the bat. Once you do that, the nature of your dreams will change. In a dream, sometimes in a dream, you don't know who you are. You accept whatever environment you're put into, right?
Right.
That changes. Once you have this training, once you do self-identification, the nature of your dreams will change. Because you're actually accepting what you're made to be, who the Father made you to be. And in my case, right, I had to remind myself, because sometimes in a dream you forget you're a child of the Most High.
Absolutely.
Your royalty, right? Your royalty in training, and it's
real.
A mindset. So in a dream,
it's a mindset. You have to get in that mindset, whether you're conscious or unconscious, whether you're awake or asleep.
That's right. That's right.
That's
right.
allowing.
That's right.
And would you say that's allowing the spirit man in you to be in control, even if your body's sleeping, even if you're relaxing?
That's it.
That's a faith walk, really, and it's also bringing your body into subjection, bringing your mind, your will, and emotions into subjection. Right. Christians can do that.
Because if you become emotionally compromised, right, most people serve their emotions. And what I mean by that is, if they get angry, they respond to anger. If they get happy, they respond to that happiness. By the way, happiness is temporary, joy is eternal. If they respond to these emotions, that's a compromise, right?
Right.
But discipline is to be happy, but still evaluate, still understand who you are, your objectives, what the Lord would require of you, and then act on spiritual things, never by the flesh, right?
Oh, no.
You give the flesh one little inch, you slip one time,
right?
And your body will crave that power again. You can take power away from all your natural reactions, right? Because without the spirit, we're animals.
Amen.
It is by way of the spirit that we, tamper down our flesh, right? We cast out thoughts and imaginations that may exalt themselves above the Most High. That's actual training in certain areas of the military. In fact, there are certain areas of the military where you go on certain patrols and areas. If you're not truly a Christian, you can't be on those teams, because you will not come back.
Yeah, it's really important to know you have faith.
You will not survive.
In the Most
and
High.
Then for the most part, there are areas that if you are a Christian, you can forget ever having a career higher than a specific point.
Yeah.
Point blank.
They don't want you
There have been guys that got up to a colonel and then they would come out with their Christianity, and all of a sudden they're sitting at home, right? So
Yep.
you can only go up so far. But there are bases you cannot go on to and mention the name of Jesus, and you have to sign something for that.
Wow.
Lots of places like that you have to sign.
Wow.
Because if you mention the name of Jesus, you disrupt everything they're doing there. If you go into an underground base, you're not going to mention the name of Jesus. You're not going to have a chaplain that's going to mention Christ there, which is why they push this universal authority now, even in those places. This weird kind of religious setup. Probably why they're burning all the churches and taking them down.
Yeah, it's a demonic plan. Can I ask you about clones for a minute? I mean, this is just I know it's off the subject, but people really want to know.
Are there clones?
Yeah, are there clones of human beings?
Hitler successfully cloned people.
Hitler
did, yes.
Joseph Mengele and these guys.
He sure did. The Russians successfully clone people. They clone them, but they know how to do things, right? Because let's go ahead and face it, in geology, not geology. When you're looking up these ancient cities and all the tablets and everything, they got all the good stuff past Paul. You know, the priests of Egypt actually knew some things by way of the fallen angels. In Saudi Arabia, they actually knew some things by way of the fallen angels. They not only corrupted mankind, but they corrupted life, period, on earth by having a person volunteer to have their body taken over by something else, right?
That's not good.
So it's like a transfer of that spirit into a person. These New Age people call it consciousness, but it's in fact your spirit, right? So their spirits would take over your body while you would be exiled into their limbo, whatever that meant. You had to agree to it, right? It's almost like you agree to go to hell while they're doing whatever the case is. These days, when they did the cloning in Germany, for example, the Vril Society actually had that knowledge, right? They did it with, they cloned animals.
Yeah.
They cloned a couple of human beings. And one of the problems they have with the human beings is that they were incredibly violent when they would come to themselves. They had no real identity. So they learned how to do rituals to have something go into that body.
Did they not have did they have a soul?
No, they had to have something to go into that body.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's a demon. Well, that's a spirit of some sort.
Yeah. There you go. So now, but think of this. How many people are on Earth that could have been, because they manufacture babies now.
Yeah.
But how many people were engineered and are now, have a demonic entity in them? You run across a really smart individual, right? Yeah. Really smart individuals. I don't trust smart individuals, but they do not like the name of Jesus Christ, because if they will not come near you, you can always tell who they are, because you'll start to recoil internally. It's almost like the Lord allows you to see right through it, right? Now, as far as a hole in the head, you know how they say they got a little hole in the middle of their eyes? Look, I got one of those. I can't go to India. I was in a service, and when I was in doing some service things in India, Pastor Paul, they made me come back. They said, you can't be over there. That it's disrupting people, because I have a hole right there. And they said, well, it's your third eye. No, it isn't. What are you? I don't need a third eye. I'm spiritual.
Yeah, you were using the anointing of the Spirit of God, and your ability to discern was driving them nuts, because they disrupting.
Well, and they also saw a physical. See, I have this indentation on my head.
Yeah.
Right between the noggin. Right. Anyway, they saw that, and they thought it was a reincarnation of one of their things.
Well, you was in India. Okay, so you actually have an indentation, right? You have a.
So when they look, and it's not just an indentation, but it's shaped a certain way, right? So that just made it worse.
They thought you was some kind of guru.
They did.
Well, you kind of are, Mike, in a way. I mean, come on, just a guru for Jesus.
A guru? How about a guru?
No. Yeah, look, I know. I was in India a couple times, and I know that they are very extremely superstitious. In other words, if a baby's born deformed, they think it's a god.
Yeah, they have that 2.5, is that 24-inch? They have a 24-inch woman there. She's 25 years old. She's the smallest woman on earth.
They worship her.
That just mess you up. That'll mess you up if you see this. And she has an incredible personality, but she's 24 inches tall. That's it. And she walks around, and she's proportioned like a baby.
I see. But
Yeah,
she's
tiny,
a grown woman. But she's a grown woman, right?
Yeah, she can never have kids. Her body is the body of a baby.
Yeah, she's crunchy.
Right. So a walking baby. She's 24. Anyway.
Yeah, and I know.
Yeah,
I seen when there was a baby.
And
born.
they drink rat milk.
What?
They let the rats.
Who? No.
Yeah, they do. They will sit there and do stuff like that. And then while I was over there, I almost fell into a river that looked like well, it didn't look too good. And it was where a hotel was. How are you going to have a hotel near a river that's brown and orange and green? That didn't look good.
Because most of the cities there's no infrastructure. There's no sewage structure.
Oh, so terrible. That's awful.
That's awful. Anyway.
Yeah, but they don't mind. They bathe in it.
Yeah, I know.
Some people do anyway.
And that's why they get cholera and malaria and all these other things because it's just, that's why shouldn't drink the water. I did once. I got real sick. Don't ever do it. No, don't drink the water. No. All right, Mike. Now, as we're winding down here tonight, I appreciate the fact that you really shared a lot about this binary system, that's obviously. Do you expect between now and the end of the year, are there going to be major changes on this earth as far as weather, climate, wars? In the next 6 months, are we going to see, if this thing starts showing up and everybody can see it, and they wonder what it is, and then we're not getting the truth from the governments of the world? But what do you see happening in these 6 month period? More disease, more war. What's coming?
Well, yeah, disease. Yeah. Do you know they have a tree fungus, right? Another case. I believe this is case number 3 ever. A person has the fungus that was growing on a tree. That's not supposed to happen.
No.
That is not supposed. And that seems like it comes right out of a video game or something like that, right? I believe that one of those doctors likened it to some kind of release of something people were watching, but a fungus of a tree, which is deadly to human beings, it grew on his leg. And they had to do surgery to get the fungus out. And they had to send him through a treatment for 2 weeks, a bath. He was immersed for 2 weeks to get the compounds out, to get all that stuff out. So there are more and more cases of that showing up. That's ridiculous because that's, for a tree to breach its own biological barriers and go straight to a human being. It's bad enough that they do have certain plants that cry if you break a leaf or something like that. And it's bad enough that they have plants. If you have a plastic plant near it, it will start growing in the shape of the plastic plant, right? It can mimic other plants.
Really?
It'll look like other plants. Yeah. So it could be an artificial plant, and it will, you could set it 9 feet across the room, and within 2 weeks, it's going to look just like that plant. Right.
Well,
so
I know.
Mimics the foliage.
I know that if you have plants growing too close together, that a lot of times they will literally merge and become a new species. Grow branches. You could have 2 different types of plants, and they can.
Well, this one will change its leaves, Pastor Paul. It'll
look like
leaf one
to make
week,
itself look like the other one.
Yes, it will.
Camouflaging itself
in
its environment.
It'll do it perfectly, and it does not care if it's artificial or whatever. But my question is, how in the world can it do that when it's you stick a plastic plant outside your window, but it can see it? What is that? Some photoreceptor we missed? What? Well, anyway, so you have things like that. So disease.
Well, Heidi told me all the time. She said, "Paul, you can walk up to plants and talk to them."
Yeah, they do. They do communicate,
and they will communicate, and they will.
They do communicate,
and they will look better. They'll feel better. They'll be healthier if you just talk to them and water them. But talk to them and tell them how beautiful they are. Tell them how great they are, and they'll actually do better.
They do communicate,
Yeah.
and they do seem to they do show emotions. You just it's a they actually they're on a it's almost like they talk with a voice just like you and I, but it's at a much higher
We should
frequency,
expect
but
that,
at the
Mike.
same
We,
volume. They
I
speak
mean,
at our same volume on a
the
higher
Book of
frequency.
Psalms tells us that the leaves of the trees clap their hands and give praise unto God. I mean, really, it says that. It tells you
Yeah,
that. So we
I,
just blow
I saw.
past that stuff.
Here's one thing I hope. I saw a paper back in 1986. Right. This is not. I'm not joking. They were looking at 5 trees. Right. That uprooted this guy's house and ran in the middle of the forest and left a trail, 5 trees. Okay, that's a report. That was an actual report.
The trees got up and ran.
The trees got up and ran.
Whoa, Mike. Whoa. Oh, wait,
So what is that? What is that? What in the world is that? I hope that's not. I hope that's not. I hope that's not the case. You're talking about it was how tall did they say that tree was? That tree was 86 feet tall or something like those trees were like 86 feet
That's
tall.
huge.
That they were spontaneously moving is what the report said, and they did uproot themselves, and they were in different locations. They verified that the trees were no longer there and that those same trees were sitting in the middle of the forest, and they verified the trail. Now how they got there, I don't know.
Yeah,
but that was in the report. The report was the guy was so scared he never went back to his home. Him and his family never went back to that house.
Well, I suppose I wouldn't either. If a tree,
they never went. They never ever went back.
Maybe when we get to
heaven. Is that weird?
Yeah.
I think the Lord has. I think the Lord has. He didn't tell us everything,
no,
obviously,
he didn't.
but I think there are some things in store. One of my greatest concerns is that, Pastor, we're in the end times, and as this object you keep talking about, right? The closer it comes, it seems like people are losing it. People are losing it. Things are happening. Right? Phenomena is happening. Whoever thought that a day would come when the Pentagon is discussing, little green men? Whoever thought that would come? I know they're Nephilim, right? You know they're Nephilim and things like that, but they're discussing little green men. These people who have been in contact with these things, right? They will tell you right now they've been in contact with them.
Yep.
They'll tell you right now. Although most of the clear ones are us, that's our stuff like that. Tic Tac, that's ours. We do that. We own the Tic Tac. But some of these other things that you see, they're not us, right? All these kids that see them, these tiny kids that say, some giant people got off this egg. That's what they'll say, and that stuff. We have actually come to that day, and there's been another encounter, just like the one in Nevada. So.
There's been another one.
Goodness.
Been another one.
Yeah, it's been another one.
Well, Mike, look, we've this webinar that's coming up, aliens above and below. I can't wait to hear about you talking about Leviathan Kingdom, and all the things going on. We just got Avi Loeb. Heidi was able to get Avi Loeb, the Harvard professor who just found those spheres, those metal spheres we talked about last week. He's going to be one of the speakers on the webinar. He's going to. Is he
still tracking a Muamua?
Yeah, he's still tracking a Muamua. Yeah.
It did something recently, didn't it?
It did, and I'm going to ask him about that and those spheres, because those spheres are perfectly round, and they're made up of exotic metals. Okay. So
didn't they found some in Jakarta too, didn't they?
I don't know.
I believe they found some in Jakarta.
Well, I'll have to ask him that. I'm gonna dig deep into him. We're also, of course, we look forward to what you're going to tell us for sure. And also, we just got Eli Marzulli said he's on board. He's going to be interviewed. He's got some new information for us. Rex Bear's got some new information for us. And then I'm also trying to get Stan Deo, and which we know he'll probably say yes. And there's a guy on the History Channel actually on this show, Ancient Aliens, that we're going to try to bring on and give him his chance. So it's a combination of people, different perspectives, but we're not afraid to take this on, because I believe that these Nephilim and the fallen ones are going to become ever more prevalent in the last days than ever before.
Yeah, they're going to be quite intrusive, especially for us. We're They don't want us in their system,
No,
right?
they
They don't
don't.
want us included. And so we know that mentally, supernaturally, they're going to try and make us corrupt ourselves as best they can. So it's that's a good program. So people have that defense by way of information. They can keep their sanity.
That's
They
right.
can't believe everything, but I'll tell you something: the spiritual manifestations are going to be 100% real,
Amen.
100% challenging, and without Christ, there is no protection. I
No.
think people are going to come to that conclusion quite quickly. There is no
Amen.
protection outside of the blood of the Lamb. There is none.
Amen.
Because we could encounter all sorts of things, right? It could or could not be true. I saw things with my own eyes to this very day. I can't tell you if it were real or not. I can tell you about the report or something like that. I didn't see those trees. I just read about that one,
Right.
but
But you've
I
seen
saw
some
that on
stuff.
somebody's desk.
Yeah.
But I've seen stuff right in my face, Pastor Paul, and I'm telling you right now, even if people were to right now to see one, if they knock on the front door, they cannot tell you if it's real or not. They
Wow.
can't. Something happens to you, and you cannot tell anybody that you 100% saw what you saw. It's almost like something in you says no,
Right.
just a blank no. But a day is coming where the protection is taken off, and at that point, all of us who love the Lord are going to realize that we've been protected all this time. I believe it's going to increase our faith. I do.
Amen.
Because when a person realizes that the Lord has been protecting us this entire time, you're talking about a faith boost, right? A real faith boost. But for other people, without Christ, they don't have a chance. But at least some of us being around will be able, strong enough, in the Lord to give that last call, because even during that time, I don't believe it's going to be too late until the wrath pours out, and we'll be, no, we're not appointed to his wrath. Meaning, if we're not appointed to it, we're not going to be here during his time of wrath.
Amen.
There's a time of tribulation and a time of wrath, and the time of wrath makes tribulation look like a party. So those people left in the time of wrath have no hope, no
Nope.
chance, no anything. They're doomed. Their torment starts right then.
We don't want to be there. We're
No,
going to follow the Jesus Christ. We're going to stay in the blood of the Lamb, and we're going
that's
to be
it.
ready when he comes. We're ready when he
That's
comes.
it. That's
Mike,
it.
appreciate it. A lot of stuff for me to digest this week, but we look forward to being back with you next Thursday night, Lord willing.
Will do, Pastor Paul. Stay alert for the weather.
I will. It's going to be kind of dangerous. We're going to watch it.
Yes, it will. Yes,
I'll do
it
that.
will.
We'll be talking about it probably next week. God bless.
We probably will. God bless, Pastor Paul. It's
Okay.
always an honor.
The honor's mine. God bless.